Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Diversity Conversations. My name is Sophia Brewer, and today I am talking with Dr. Yaba Blay. Welcome, Dr. Blay.
Thank you.
So we're just going to jump right in and start asking questions. We're really excited to have you here today. So to get us started, tell us a little bit about your work and what you're going to be talking with us with tonight.
It's a big question. I do a lot of things. I'm a professor, an academic, an author, a producer, content creator. I'm a mother. And tonight's conversation as part of the Diversity Lecture Series is really going to be taking folks on a journey into my own journey, right? This kind of contextual conversation about why I do the work that I do. I think what we see in the academy so often is folks detach themselves or at least attempt to perform a detachment from their work, when in reality all of us are very much attached to our work. And I think what brings power to the work is knowing what that attachment is, knowing why it is I do the work that I do. And so I'm speaking from the position of a Black woman who was first generation Ghanaian, born in America, was born and raised in New Orleans, dark skinned, daughter of immigrants, and it absolutely has impacted the choices that I've made in terms of the work that I want to do, work that ultimately empowers us to see the beauty in ourselves. Okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you. A lot of your work centers around colorism and racial identity. Why should we care about colorism? What is colorism?
Colorism is an institution not unlike white supremacy. I think in our everyday existence, if we're tuned into anything, we're tuned into social inequality, we're tuned into racism, we're tuned into white supremacy, especially now in terms of the way that it works in folks' lives to create systems of inequity. Colorism is no different in that white supremacy is very much based upon color. Right? The difference between who's white and who's not. Colorism is what happens when we take that institution and that paradigm and inflict it upon ourselves, so that within communities of color that we place more value on those of us with lighter complexions than those of us with darker complexions. And so there's really no separation between the ways in which colorism impacts people's lived experiences and the ways that racism impacts our lived experiences. So we should absolutely care, ultimately, because it's impacting all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In what ways, because I want to make this relevant to people who may not be in a minority group. So in what ways is it relevant to maybe a white person, a white person on this campus? Why should they care about colorism when it comes to our students, when it comes to the people that walk through our doors?
I mean, I don't know that I can tell someone why they should care necessarily, as much as it is something that happens, right? In the same way that we should care about racism, not everybody does. So it is to say the person who would care about colorism is somebody who would care about the ways in which social inequity impacts people's lives. And so if you care about that, then you would understand how colorism impacts us all. So that if you're a white person, perhaps, let's think of which Black people you feel comfortable with, which Latinos you feel comfortable with. Are they the ones who are more aligned with your value systems, the one who, I mean, even when we think about the Latinx community, we have folks within that community who self-identify as white Latinx. That's an oxymoron, right? Because to be Latino is to not be white, right? So I think even in the conversations about identity, even in the conversations about the ways in which we look and present to the world, we come to understand just how insidious white supremacy has been to all of our thinking. It impacts every single way that we think, particularly in Western societies. And so when we look at colorism and other systems of inequity, it helps us to really unpack that, I think.
This is a great segue into the next question. In talking about we've been conditioned. So when we talk about white supremacies, we've been conditioned not to like ourselves. What do we do about that? How do we get there, and what do we do about that?
Well, we didn't get there. We were taken there, you know. really understanding how important representation is, how important it is to see yourself. And so if you don't control the news channels, the news stations, if you don't control the platforms, if you don't control what images get projected out about you, what can you do about it? You know what I mean? And so it is to say that once we're able to think critically about what we're being exposed to, then we also can empower ourselves to create our own vision, right? Our own world, our own representation, which is a lot of the work that I do. That since I can't control mainstream media, may be able to impact it to a certain degree. Ultimately, we don't own those platforms. So now, social media, for example, is a beautiful example. We don't need TV as much as we need YouTube, as much as we need Instagram, as much as we need to be able to stream stuff. So y'all can put whatever y'all want on ABC and NBC. If we don't see ourselves there, we'll watch ourselves on YouTube because there's some young creative who's going to create the TV show that you won't give me, right? And so I think it's important for us to see ourselves and to know how important it is to expose our children and our communities to beautiful images of ourselves, because otherwise all we have is what we're given.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so what do we say to people who in reading up on colorism online, there are some people say by focusing on colorism, we're only perpetuating white supremacy. We're only perpetuating this noise that break people out into classes by the skin tone. What do you say to people that might have that view of, when we focus on the internal conflicts in different minority groups, that we perpetuate white supremacy?
It doesn't make sense to me as an argument, ultimately. I mean, I think at the end of the day, top of the morning, if there's something impacting us in our communities, we should talk about it. And talking about it doesn't make it the thing. It calls the thing out, And so if it ails us, it deserves our attention.
Okay. So recently I was having a conversation on August 22nd was Equal Pay Day. Yeah. And so that's the day when African-American women make Equal Pay Day 2019 is when African-American women made what their male counterparts made in 2018. So we make 61 cents on a dollar compared to our male counterparts. And I was recently talking to a mother and her daughter and talking about this whole idea that African-American women are supposed to be the most highly educated people in America, yet we make 61 cents on a dollar to the male. So even though we're educated, we're still devalued in a way. So what do we say to young girls who might be coming to school, might be coming to GRCC, or young women who might be coming to GRCC, or young girls? What do we say to motivate them to become this professional Black girl that you talk about often?
I mean, I think, again, particularly as a space of higher education, they just have to know. I think one of the most terrible things we can do as educators, I think, is to sell our students a false dream. I graduated from undergrad without a job. I graduated from both of my master's degree and my PhD without a job. Like, that is a reality. And so we don't do our students any service by making them think that this degree is going to open the doors for you to get this magical job and this perfect life, because it's not, right? It's all about work and progress. So I think it is to say the students need to know the numbers, they need to know what they're up against, but then also feeling empowered to say something, because if we don't say anything, we can't do anything about it. So it's about acknowledging what's happening and then trying to do something about it.
So last question. So let's talk about your book, One Drop, Shifting the Lens on Race. What makes this book unique compared to other books on colorism, and what will we learn from reading it?
Well, it's not a book on colorism per se. I think most people understand colorism to only speak about the disadvantages that come with having dark skin in a racialized society, which is why I tend to use the language of skin color politics more, for us to understand that there are politics at play across the spectrum of skin tones. And so what this book does uniquely is it looks at skin color politics from the perspective of people on the lighter end of the skin tone spectrum, folks who are not Black from a distance, folks who self-identify as Black or some version of it, but their physical appearance might make people question, or in another historical time period they may have passed. And so speaking to them about Blackness. So what makes it unique is that we're getting a conversation about Blackness from the perspective of folks who don't look Black.
Thank you for spending time with us. We're looking forward to your speech tonight, your presentation tonight at Spectrum Theater here at Grand Rapids Community College at 6 p.m. Again, my name is Sophia Brewer, and you've been listening to Diversity Conversations from the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at the Grand Rapids Community College.